Introduction to pricing the property. The sales price is set in the listing contract and is the price at which the seller agrees to accept an offer from an able and willing buyer. When it comes to setting a sales price for the contract, the broker can suggest a price based on a comparative market analysis, or CMA, as well as their knowledge of the most recent sales in the area. Once a CMA is completed, the broker consults with the client. Based on how aggressively the seller wishes to move the property, a listing price is agreed on. Then, the listing contract is signed and becomes legally binding. The seller may ask for guidance on the final sales price. At this time, the broker or sales agent should walk them through the CMA. Each portion of the CMA needs to be thoroughly explained so that the seller understands how the suggested sales price was derived. If the seller indicates that they want to decrease the sales price significantly, it is the broker's responsibility to explain that they may be accepting an amount far below what they could get for the home. If the seller indicates a much higher value, the property may stay on the market for a long time. The longer the property is on the market, the less likely it is to sell at the asking price. A word of caution. Ultimately, all the real estate professional can do is suggest prices based on the market and on the goals of the seller. The final decision needs to be left up to the seller. If the broker or agent pushes too hard for a higher price and the property does not sell, the owner will be upset and may accuse the broker of padding the price to get a higher commission. At the same time, if the real estate agent is too aggressive and suggests a really low price to motivate a quick sale, the owner may feel cheated. For example, real estate agent Gabe Brown prepares a CMA to present to seller Wendy Kleinfelter. Recent comparable sales in the area range from $250,000 to $270,000, with the suggested sales price coming to $260,000. Gabe tells Wendy to list the property at $280,000, believing that the market is heating up and that, given time, they will get the higher amount. Wendy is very reluctant to agree to this, since she and her husband are moving out of state the following month. Nevertheless, she agrees to the sales price, and the listing agreement is signed. Over the following weeks, several interested buyers do a walkthrough, but don't seem to feel that the home is worth the inflated price. No offers are made on the home. In a panic, Wendy finally forces Gabe to lower the listing price and receives an offer for $240,000. Since no other offers materialize, she is forced to accept the deal. However, she files a complaint with Gabe's broker and blogs online about her negative experience. Such situations are 100% avoidable by keeping the customer in the loop and truly representing their interests. What is a comparative market analysis, CMA? Comparative market analysis. An analysis of the competition in the marketplace that a property will face upon sale attempts. A comparative market analysis, or CMA, is a close reading of similar properties sold in the same market area. Real estate agents put together the CMA for clients in order for them to set a listing price at which a home will be offered for sale. Because no two properties are exactly the same, agents adjust the price for differences between recently sold properties and the subject property to be sold. This yields a fair offer or sales price. A comparative market analysis is not an appraisal. A formal appraisal can only be performed by a licensed real estate appraiser. An appraisal is the process of estimating the value of real property performed by a licensed professional. Appraisers must receive authorization from a licensing board in their state of residence. Real estate appraisals account for the value of the surrounding property and general market conditions, as well as the condition of the subject property. The appraisal is used to determine the property taxes and potential sales price if the owner decides to sell the property. In a CMA, the agent records the differences between the comparison properties and the subject property that is being sold. It is a less official version of a formal, professional appraisal. Brokers use CMAs to advise clients on a listing price. CMA Example 1. For example, Jack Tanner wants to sell his 2,100 square foot home, which has 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. It is a single-family home with a 1/4 acre of land. Ideally, Jack wants to get $300,000 for the property, so he contacts real estate agent Carrie Lerner to create a comparative market analysis. Carrie identifies 8 other properties that have sold in the area in the past 2 years. She chooses the 3 that are the most similar to Jack's home. The first matches Jack's house on every point, but sits on a busy road. It recently sold for $275,000. The second comparison is a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home on a 1/4 acre lot. However, it's 2,400 square feet due to an added-on screened-in porch. The sales price was $315,000. The third home is a 4-bedroom located on a 1/4 acre of land. It is also 2,100 square feet, but only has 2 bathrooms which are in desperate need of remodeling. This home sold for $265,000. Taking into consideration all the properties, Carrie completes a comparative market analysis. The average adjusted sales price is the average of the 3 properties, or $285,000. However, Jack's home has a recently updated bathroom, so Carrie places more weight on the first 2 sales. She presents her analysis and suggests that $300,000 is a fair listing price. Jack decides to list his house at $290,000, giving himself a little wiggle room to negotiate with future buyers. Let's take an in-depth look at how to put together a CMA. Experience and market area knowledge. The CMA is not only a comparison. When you prepare your first CMA, you should ask for help from your broker or another sales agent. Eventually, you also will have a thorough grasp of the local market and be able to prepare comparisons based on data presented to you. Your mantra should always be, "Real estate is local." This well-known quote may be overused, but it is true nonetheless. As an agent, you have to know everything going on in your market. If you only take the sales prices and adjustments into account, you may be at a serious disadvantage. Before assuming anything, make sure that you know the area and the properties extremely well. Without this familiarity, you cannot perform an effective comparison. All this means is that, armed with market data, you can find out why homes in one area sell better and command higher prices. Let's take a look at how comps are selected. Selecting the right comparable properties. Statistically, sales way above or way below the bulk of available comparables are not useful. Sometimes, there are only a couple of comps to select from, and you have to consider all candidates. However, if you have enough recent comps, throw out the highest and lowest sales prices to even out the trending. Save your notes on the comps that you do not use so that you can justify why you excluded them if necessary. Clients may question your decision to exclude some properties in deciding on the sales price. It is important to be ready for that conversation, should it arise. Put together comparable properties in the same subdivision as the subject properties, and if no comps are available in recent sales, go to Plan B. In lieu of sales prices in the current neighborhood, you can select homes from another subdivision or even a nearby town. For example, Realtor Helen Guest received a listing in her small rural town. No homes have been sold there in the past year. Helen widens the net and gathers sales data from 3 neighboring towns to get an idea what listing price she should suggest to the seller. After throwing away an extremely high cash sale and an extremely low short sale, she has 3 comparable properties left: $195,000, $197,000, and $215,000. All 3 homes are 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes on half-acre lots. The third choice sold for $215,000 because it had a 2-car garage versus a 1-car garage in the other 2 homes. Helen suggests $198,000 sales price, adjusted for inflation. Try not to use comps that are too old. Stay as close as possible to the current time frame. You can try going back in increments, such as the last 6 months, then the last year, and so on. This will be easier in fast markets than slower ones. For comparison properties older than 3 months, you will probably need to make some subjective adjustments. These adjustments should be specific to the market, and newer agents should rely on their brokers for guidance. Again, depending on the availability of comparison homes, use homes of the same construction in your CMAs. For example, don't mix 1-story with 2-story homes. We have an aging population that may value the convenience and safety of 1 floor. With our aging population, many seniors will be looking for a single-story home, so it could be more in demand. Adjusting value for comparison properties. When you compare properties, you have to adjust for any differences that will have a material impact on the sales price. For example, you wouldn't adjust for minor features such as doorknobs and light fixtures, but you would include any major improvements such as remodeling a bathroom. Tip: some of these details will be found in the last listing for the comparable properties, although the value of improvements has to be estimated. Performing the comparison of properties to the listing property is the most difficult and time-consuming part of completing the CMA. The realtor will select similar properties, then adjust them to conform to the subject house. Each adjustment represents the estimated increase in value for each item, which is subtracted from the subject property if the subject property does not have the improvement. Items that the property for sale have that the comparable homes do not will increase the suggested sales price of the listing. Here are some items that are commonly adjusted for. Add or subtract value for the difference in the lot or acreage size. Do the same for major feature differences. Does the property have additional bedrooms and bathrooms? Does the home have a garage? If so, how many cars can fit in the garage? Has the kitchen been upgraded? Look for any special financing that could have impacted the sales price. Motivated cash buyers may have been willing to pay more for a quick sale, for example. Was the sale of the comparable property arm's length? Meaning, were there any special circumstances that would impact the sale, such as selling to a relative? Do not include short share or distressed properties in the comparison, as these sales will not reflect true market value. For example, Realtor Abraham Wallace is listing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a 1-car garage on a 1/4-acre lot. His 3 comparison properties are identical, except for the following. The first property had a much lower sales price from a cash buyer. The last name of the purchaser is the same as that of the seller. Abraham suspects this was a sale to a family member and decides not to use this property in his comparison. The second property has a 4th bedroom. Abraham makes a note of this, determines the value of the additional bedroom to be $15,000, which he will adjust for in the comparative market analysis. To look at another example, you might end up with adjusted comps of $140,000, $150,000, and $160,000. This is a solid range, not much higher or lower than the others, which is an indication that the property you are selling will probably fall within that range. However, here is where the craft and skill of an experienced real estate agent come in handy. Where along the range of $140,000 to $160,000 should your listing price fall? This skill is obtained over time, and this is again one place where your broker can provide some direction. Sometimes, the most important factor is the motivation of the seller. If the homeowner is looking for a quick sale, he might be willing to sell at the bottom of the range at $140,000. On the other hand, if the main factor is getting the highest price possible and the seller is in no rush to sell, a list price of $160,000 might be the best listing price. More details on selecting comparison properties. Now that we have walked through the adjustment process, let's take a look at additional factors to consider in selecting comparison properties for the CMA, as well as other factors impacting how to adjust the sales price. First of all, consider all homes listed in the past 6 months, including homes that have sold, have sales pending, or are expired. Sold listings are the primary tool for determining the value of your listing. Meanwhile, expired listings tell at what price the market will not respond to a listing. Pending listings can help you understand what similar homes are going for in the current moment. The following are examples of good comparison properties that can be used to determine and adjust the listing price. Bedrooms. Homes that have the same number of bathrooms and bedrooms are good comparisons since such a high value is placed on these assets. However, it is also possible to estimate the value of an extra bedroom or bathroom when preparing the CMA, if you feel like a home is one of the better choices. Homes with square footage within 300 of the listing property. For example, if your home is 2,300 square feet, the range for comparable properties will be 2,000 and 2,600 square feet. Because the number of bedrooms listed for a home. Generally, more bedrooms equal a higher listing price. It is important to keep in mind that bedrooms can be added onto a home or the house can be carved up to create more bedrooms for a growing family. Here's the problem. Without additional square footage, those extra rooms may not add much value to the property. They may even present legal challenges if the changes are unpermitted. Be aware of how the local coding agency defines a bedroom. In some cases, living rooms, dining rooms, and sunrooms can be considered officially a bedroom. Homes in the same neighborhood. Neighborhood is not just a geographic designation. Figuring out what neighborhood a home belongs to can be trickier than it sounds. For that reason, it is truly necessary to assess the neighborhood as a result of online information. Some homes in urban areas may be part of master-planned communities with clearly defined boundaries. In other cases, you may need to investigate the local definition of where neighborhoods begin and end. If there isn't any real agreement on the boundaries, you can refer to the names of nearby highways and shopping centers. In some cases, train tracks are used as the designation. School district. Select homes in the same school district as your listing, especially in areas with a demographic of young families. The quality of the schools will be of paramount interest to interested buyers. If there aren't enough sales in the same school district, be familiar enough with the surrounding school districts to be able to select from homes in similar school districts. In larger cities, school districts right next to each other can have dramatically different ratings. This usually has a sizable impact on property values. Here is a resource for you that is helpful. K12.niche.com is a good site to determine the geographical areas for school zones. Size matters. Lots in the same neighborhood are probably going to be about the same size. However, larger lots do add to the value of the property. A home on a full-acre lot will be worth much more than a similar home on a quarter acre. Age of homes. Unless you live in a historical home that has a heritage that will increase the property value, older homes are going to be worth less than newer ones. For example, a home built in Gettysburg in the 1800s that once housed garrison Confederate soldiers is going to be worth far more than a 40-year-old home in disrepair. For comparison properties, select homes within 10 to 25 years of the listing. If all homes in a neighborhood were built around the same time, age isn't really a factor. However, if new construction is available in the area, it will command a much higher sales price or may drive down the value of your listing. This would be a good time to get more familiar with the neighborhood if you aren't already. Homes with similar amenities. For example, your home has an in-ground pool. Other listings with in-ground pools make good comparisons. Fences in good repair are another amenity to consider. Some amenities are not tangible assets. For example, a home with an ocean view will be able to command a much higher price than a home with no view at all, a few blocks from the beach. Determine a price per square foot. So, now you have narrowed down the list of comparable properties. You have several homes that are more or less similar to the listing property. Now, it is time to take the price determined for each comparable property and divide by the total square footage to get the price per square foot. This is a great indicator for comparing the value of homes. Finally, calculate the average price per square foot of all the comparison properties. You use this average price per square foot multiplied by the exact square footage of the listing home. Now you can celebrate because you have determined a pretty accurate estimate of the sales price of your client's home. Let's look at an example. Realtor Ted Johnson is running a CMA for a 3,000 square foot home. He has selected 4 comparable homes. Home 1 is 2,700 square feet and sold for $499,500. Price per square foot, $185. Home 2 is 3,300 square feet and sold for $541,200. Price per square foot, $164. Home 3 is 2,700 square feet and sold for $415,800. Price per square foot, $154. Home 4 is 3,300 square feet and sold for $617,100. Price per square foot, $187. We find that the average price per square foot here is $172.50. Multiply 172.5 by the subject property's square footage of 3,000 to get the suggested value for the listing. So, $172.50 times 3,000 equals $517,500. This is the suggested price for the listing contract to discuss with the seller. Walkthrough of the listing property. Before you can celebrate and sign the listing agreement, there is one final step you should take. You can be very confident of the comparable market value of the home compared to recent sales. Take the opportunity to see the home in person and see if there are any surprises that would significantly increase or decrease the value of the home. Here are some general considerations that you should look out for. Is the condition of the home much worse or much better than the comparable properties? Additions and upgrades. Has the client added a pool, central air, or skylights that can increase the value of the property? The property. Is the sidewalk in ill repair? Has the landscaping been redone? The condition of the property impacts the perceived value of the home and is also known as curb appeal. Adjust the price per square foot and sales price to reflect the differences. It is difficult to assess the increase or decrease in value that results from the items you come up with on the walkthrough. In reality, it is unlikely that the client will surprise you with last-minute information about a pool or new AC. Usually, the types of unknown challenges that come up are revealed during the inspection. Unfortunately, these often involve fixes for plumbing, electrical, or other infrastructure work, which can be expensive. An analysis of current listings. The comparable properties in the last section were sold homes with known sales prices. In addition, you will need to take a look at current listings in the same area that your listing will be competing across. You may need to adjust your suggested list price up or down to be competitive in the marketplace. In periods of high inventory, you may have to adjust your price downward to be competitive, while a low inventory market may yield you a higher sales price in a seller's market. For example, Realtor Ashley Polanski has completed a CMA on recently sold homes and come up with a suggested sales price of $304,000. However, when she looks at other homes currently on the market, she finds that out of 4, only one of them is below her sales price at $280,000. The other properties are all at least $10,000 above what her CMA suggests. She presents these findings to her seller, and they increase the listing price to $288,000, or $8,000 more than the suggested price based on sold homes, but still competitive in the market. Present the CMA in an easy-to-understand format. Presentation is also a plus, but making the report pretty should not overshadow presenting the report in an easily digestible format that the seller can immediately understand. Bottom line. The first time you complete a comparative market analysis may be difficult as you struggle to understand how the data translates into the value of an actual home. However, once you understand how they work, the process is really very straightforward. It is worth the investment in time to thoroughly understand the report and to get into the habit of not skipping any steps, no matter how tedious.